Wait, sorry. I was muting this thing over here. Restarties. Sorry, guys. All right, this time for real. What's up, everybody? This is the Owl Recap, a show focused on covering the news, matches, and results of the Overwatch League. Today, we are covering the World Cup stages leading up to the Overwatch League World Cup. And as always, I am joined by Bob. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? I'm doing good.
Oh, it's a good day to talk about Overwatch. And returning from missing last week, Melarina, how you doing?
I'm back. I'm here. Aren't you excited?
Oh, I'm very excited. We had a fantastic weekend of games. Very close group. I would say the closest so far. So I can't wait to get into the games, talk all about them, and what we can expect of that group coming out into the finals. Before we get into that, though, as always, we want to thank our recap producer, Shasir. Thank you so much for supporting us at the top level. If you guys want to join Shasir in supporting the show, you can do so over at patreon.com/owl recap. It helps us cover the cost of the show and also get us to events like the Overwatch League World Cup. The Overwatch League and the World Cup, I would say. Two separate events. Alrighty, we also got some news coming in. Uh, uh, a jam-packed week, honestly. We got a lot of things steering up in preparation for the upcoming Owl season and also for the World Cup as well. First of all, we got some news coming in about the new teams. Toronto is apparently looking for the help of the internet to find a name. I don't know. I don't know how
Terrifying.
much. I don't know how well that's gonna go, but they're asking everybody for opinions. Do you guys have any suggestions for Toronto?
No.
None.
Toronto,
Come on.
Toronto teabags. How about that? It's the first thing
Toronto
that
No.
came
teabag.
to TTT, baby. It's the first thing that came to mind.
I feel like that should be like the UK team or something, like London Spitfire, the London teabag. How about you, Mel?
Oh gosh, I should have been more prepared for this, but I don't know, like Toronto Titans or
Oh, okay, that's not bad. I kind of like that. It has a good ring.
right? Yeah. What about you, Andres?
I don't know, the Toronto Maples or something. Being the first team from
Maples?
Canada. Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
because
the first team from
maple
maple.
Canada,
syrup.
Why don't you just
like
call
the
them the
Maples.
Toronto Syrups?
I don't know. The Toronto syrup sounds too sugary, too
Doesn't quite
sweet.
roll off the tongue.
No. I don't know. Do you guys have better suggestions? I'm curious to see what our audience has to say. If you guys have any suggestions, make sure to tweet it at Toronto, and make sure to let us know so we can see what you guys have suggested. I'm sure there's gonna be some funny ones out there.
Yeah, there
Oh,
will
I'm
be.
sure. Leave it to the internet.
hmm We also come. We also have news about the WWE gifting a custom belt to the Owl champions. Do you want to speak a little bit to that, Mel?
Well, it was okay. I'm not a WWE person by any stretch of the imagination, but it was somebody big. His name was like Triple
Triple
H.
H. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's huge in the WWE. I'm not huge into that, but I know he's pretty big
He
in
was
it.
big when I was into it back when The Rock was first starting,
Yeah,
years
like
and years
back in the
ago.
90s or like early 2000s, I would
Yep.
say it's like old school. Yeah.
Well, I think the funniest thing is that it's now reaching like a wider audience, right? Because he did this and he like made this huge announcement and he made this like WWE belt with like the London Spitfire icons, like the championship belt. And it was funny to read some of the comments, and they're like, why are you giving the title to a gaming team? Like, okay.
I would say historically, the fan base of the WWE is not the most embracing of video games, or at least not competitive video games in
Right.
that sense of the word. But
Yeah.
you're right. You're right about that. It's really cool that different industries, different like walks of life have been paying attention to Overwatch and esports like in general have been making a huge splash. Making it to the mainstream right now, and I think Overwatch is slowly creeping up. Overwatch hasn't been leading the charge, but I think that having the Overwatch League that has given them a lot of exposure, and people are slowly treating them a little more seriously. Bob, you want to say something?
Well, early on in like stage one, I think it was, Owen Wilson showed up to the Blizzard arena and
Yeah,
watched some games.
yeah. There's been a few
Wow.
celebrities that have been interested.
Wow. I can't do it. Wow.
I think lately I've also seen a lot of tweets and stuff in social media about Zed, the EDM kind of like DJ, or however you want to call it, performer. He's huge in like the EDM scene, and he's been like posting that he got to masters. He's been hanging out with like some streamers in Overwatch. I think IDDQD was asking him if he wanted to duo the other day. So I think it's cool that
Nice.
all these kind of like celebrities from other parts are kind of like trying to get involved, and like they're open to embracing the scene, and being part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when oh gosh, what's his name? Old Spice got into what's his name? Oh, dang it.
I got
Terry
nothing.
Crews.
Terry Crews, thank you. Yeah, when he got into the tweets and everything about being in
Oh
Overwatch
yeah,
and all that, I mean, it's just good for publicity to bring the game to viewers and fans of the other stuff that might not know about Overwatch.
yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, moving on. We also have Dallas hosting a college Overwatch tournament. You want to speak a little bit to this one, Bob? Since they're kind of like your home team.
I was not prepared for this. This is actually, did these notes here is the first time I've heard of this,
Did you
but
not read the notes?
I did read the notes, but not every article in the notes. Um, Effect's going to be there with OGE uh, at the event itself. It's cool that we didn't really talk about that, but Effect's coming back. Like it's cool that Effect's coming back and
you
might
know,
actually redeem
they
himself.
never actually announced that Effect wasn't going to be in the roster. There's been no release notice or anything. We
Well,
know
they've
that he's
said
going to be
he
Oh,
back.
is.
they've said he's there.
He's back now. They
Yeah.
said he will be here for season 2.
Yeah,
There you
Arrow's
go.
been working with him one on one. Like I think they're working on managing his anxiety or whatever it is. It's not disclosed, but whatever he
To
suffers
be
from.
to be fair with Effect, he was one of the first ones that went pretty much alone to a team that didn't have any Koreans in it, or any fellow countrymen of his. He pretty much kind of like dove in first. Some of the other teams that had mixed rosters at least had one or two Koreans, that you could at least vibe with or communicate easily. But Effect was the lone wolf there, and he did have a rough season. Whether you like effects play or not, how he performed during the season, that's up for debate. But having said that, he is a great player, and I think that Dallas Field sees something in him and want to work with him. And maybe with this new leadership from Arrow, things will be a little bit different. He's a little bit more of that psychologist analysis style. He might be able to
He's a
reconcile.
he's definitely a coach. But this tournament looks to be pretty interesting. There's a lot of colleges involved. Baylor, Colorado State, Mississippi State, New Mexico State, Oklahoma, Southern Methodist, Texas Christian, Texas Tech, uh, University of Arkansas, just to name a few. It looks like it's getting a lot of people, and it's gonna air live on one of the local. Oh no, it's gonna air live on the Dallas Twitch channel.
Oh, very cool. I think it's really cool news. Just shows that Dallas is investing into the college scene, trying to grab the interest of students. Tournaments like this raise an interest and a desire for a younger generation to play Overwatch, because going to school, and some of them are getting scholarships through this. Some of them can pay for their whole tuition through tournaments like this. So it's very appealing. It makes it very competitive, and it attracts talent, right? Young talent that might otherwise be playing other games suddenly might be thinking, well, I could pay for my whole school if I just won this tournament, and I'm already good at video games. Might as well give it a shot. So I think it's a great incentive and kind of like grassroots movement from Dallas Fuel. What do you think, Mel?
I read an article that was like bashing gaming, but it was like these damn millennials are making money off of playing video games now. Nobody's ever going to do anything else.
Yeah, and they're not
Found really
getting
entertaining.
hurt playing football in college and then not being able to walk correctly for the rest of their lives.
I didn't say I agreed with it. I said it was funny.
It is funny. It is funny.
But
It's
I
But
think,
yeah,
let's
sad.
be honest.
it's just
It's
another form
sad.
of
It's
entertainment at
disappointing.
this point. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I think Dallas is on the right track here, though. I mean, building up just that path to pro, building up that college scene, and let's be honest, they're probably doing a little scouting as they're here. But it's it's a good thing. The more Overwatch gets in the news, the more Overwatch gets the headlines, the more people watch Overwatch League, the better the league does, the better Dallas does, and well,
Everybody
maybe
wins.
not the better Dallas does, but the better people like Dallas, even for when they go
Hey,
crazy,
that's important too. Having a good reputation. You might not be the best team, but you can still be the most likable team.
for sure. They've got
Definitely.
some redeeming to do.
Also, talking about Korean players moving into Western rosters or mixed rosters, Gladiators is hiring an English Korean translator. I guess they're looking forward or making moves forward to appeasing both sides of the world, bringing them together, being able to allow them to communicate. It's something that is very important inside of the game, having every player on the same page and being able to quickly communicate strategies or changes or priority targets inside of the game is super important. And I think it's been a challenge for a lot of the Korean players, especially when they have to lead the team, when some of them are the big personalities, the main tanks or the lead DPS that need their team to act with them, right? In the split second. I think they've had a little bit of trouble with that. And a lot of them, their English is not very good. I mean, when you hear them in interviews, a lot of them still need translators. So I think there's still a long way to go. And I would also like to see a little bit of effort on the other side, right? Like maybe some Western players learning some Korean, because honestly, like Korea is the leading charge in this game so far. So we might as well embrace that culture is giving us so much talent.
Right. I also
Uh,
don't want it to go to where they're split apart in different regions. We get a lot more Korean teams, and then all of a sudden it's just segregated, right? It's like, well, Korean players go to Korean teams because they speak Korean, and American players go to American teams because they speak American. I think we have to cross that gap at some point, and I think this actually having them all in the US has helped that a little bit.
possibly. Our one of our listeners and recap patron Matt O'Chan tweeted at us a little while back. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but he thought that the Overwatch League could provide language training to players at the arena. It wouldn't cost much to have have teachers, and they have plenty of extra rooms there, so they could allow people to. They wouldn't have to make it a must or a requirement, but they would have that option open and just an extra benefit for players if they do want to learn a different language. And then they could
See,
get that time off of practice time so they're not taking extra time out of their, social lives and after work lives.
I almost disagree, though. I almost think that you should make it a requirement, right? If you hire a teacher, and now don't make it one way, don't make just the Korean players learn English, but I think you should make it a requirement. It's like a 1 hour class that you have to go to, just like you would if you were doing something else, right? Like 1 hour a week or 1 hour a day isn't going to kill anybody. And if it makes their practice more effective because they can more effectively communicate, what's 1 hour of practice out of them, you know?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I just fear that they would, because you know, there's nothing to stop them from just like talking during the class, or it's kind of like college. College gets way better than high school was because everybody there is paying for that. So they don't want to waste time. They don't want to cause distractions. And
In essence, they're paying for it though, because they're getting paid to take these classes. It's part of their
Yeah,
job.
I think that making it like a requirement might be asking too much of them because some players might not see the need for it or might think that my time might be better invested in somewhere else, and it might come to like a little bit of a friction there. But I would say in the long run, players that can speak both languages or then can at least communicate easily on both languages are going to have an advantage. They're going to be a little bit more coveted. If you can fit in a roster that's Western, or you can fit in a roster that's all Korean or mixed, and you're fine, and you're also a great player, that is going to give you extra points, I think.
It
Um,
doubles your prospects, right?
yeah, exactly. Like teams, a larger set of teams might consider you for their roster, and your longevity in the Overwatch League might extend a little bit just because of that. So I think that the players that wants to be the most competitive are gonna try to learn it, or at least get to a degree where they can communicate. And I think that over time, anyways, they'll develop a sort of communication, right? Like certain things are gonna become common knowledge, like the ways that certain callouts are being made. Hero names don't really change from language to language, so those are pretty easy. And things like focus, blah blah blah, or retreat, or certain keywords, are gonna get a little bit more known. Or even Korean words. Some Western players might just learn certain Korean words and start using them kind of like in a Korean English mix there to kind of make it easier. I don't know. That's kind of the way I see it.
For sure.
Alrighty, we have a couple other news coming in over here. Team rebranding. It has come to light that some teams have been thinking about rebranding, and I think that Blizzard said is going to be allowed for season 2. Has it been confirmed already?
So they didn't say it's definitely not going to be in season 2. They did say that. But they did say that they were in the process of looking at how to implement that, but they haven't announced it yet. So it's
To be
just
fair,
interesting to me. It's been one season.
yeah, it's a
this is
little early to be like making
this is
people's jerseys obsolete.
this rebranding thing. I wonder if it's mainly Shanghai Dragons and Florida Mayhem kind of like knocking on Blizzard's doors, like, "Hey guys, um, let's talk about rebranding real quick.
We just
What's the
forget
possibility?"
about season one.
Well,
Sh-
Mayhem even put out testing Miami Vice colors like swag.
oh yeah, that was a
I
while
saw
ago.
that.
Yeah, I remember that. And to be fair, Mayhem has had a little bit of rough time with their brand. A lot of people compared it to McDonald's very early on. It became sort of a meme.
DeFran being the main one to start that whole thing, which was funny
Oh
because
man.
he, worked at a fast food place before Overwatch. So
Yeah, the marketing guys for Miami Mayhem probably hate the Fran. Like, damn you, you have made our job so hard.
Mick
Right?
Fran.
Yeah. But, in their defense, they didn't know how it was going to be perceived before they chose it. And once they chose it, it's kind of there, right?
I
So,
wish they had emphasized on the red a little more and then maybe have like some yellow accents, but like the full yellow with a little bit of red, that was, I don't know, that was a
but
little
then we
out
would have had
there.
both of the red teams being really bad, and it just would have, deterred people from ever wanting to use the color red again.
Well,
Or
I
I don't
thought the
know about
yellow
that.
was cool personally. I bought a few of the skins just because it was hilarious because it was so yellow. It was
Right, but
like
it's like a
someone
meme.
driving a
You bought them because
sports
it's funny.
car. Yeah, but I mean, people buy sports cars in that color all the time.
To be fair, it did have like a very Miami-ish vibe. Like it fit, but yeah, a lot of people were making a meme out of it. So I wonder if it's Mayhem mainly kind of trying to switch, or is Shanghai Dragons because of their really poor performance, they might want to leave the name behind and start fresh. Especially knowing that the roster is going to be almost completely new starting next season.
Right. It is one of the benefits, though, of having regionalized teams is that they do keep that same brand for the most part, right? And yes, they'll be able to change their jerseys later and whatnot, but it did say that there's two other confirmed teams looking to rebrand other than Miami.
Interesting. And I wonder what the rebranding means too. Is it just a rebranding of colors, or are they trying to change like the name and everything else, you know? Because at least in sports, every season or so, you get a change of uniforms. You might still use the same colors, you keep the same name, but you know, the jerseys change a little bit, the design changes a little bit. So there's always like a little bit of rebranding from every year to the next or season to the next. But I really wonder what these teams are trying to do. Is it a full on makeover of the team?
They're looking to change the colors of their uniforms and then be allowed to change things regarding their logo and things like that.
Mm,
So
Gotcha. Yeah, changing the name would be a little weird, but I will say, at least in the NFL, is just sometimes when a team changes owners, they will change names. Sometimes, and sometimes they won't. Usually, when a
but I
new
think
coach comes in, they often change uniforms to kind of like let you know that it's a new era, a new head coach at least, or
right,
a new GM.
but I
right.
do think to make it like Overwatch is in season 2 almost, right? Like we haven't established this regionalization yet. We're still in the infant stages. So to allow this type of stuff right now would kind of set this standard that every year things would change and then you would kind of lose some of that regionalization feel, I think.
I think so too. I think changing the colors a little bit might be fine. Still kind of renders people's jerseys not worthwhile, which kind of sucks. But
Or you can always be like that OG guy, right? Like I've been here from the beginning, boys.
could be. But then a few years down the road, nobody knows that that is a Mayhem jersey because the
Yeah, who's
colors
that guy
don't.
with that yellow shirt? What a weirdo.
Yeah.
That would be the best time to have it, right?
Alrighty, that'll do it for the team rebranding. We have the last one over here, a cutesy little video from Spitfire answering fan comments. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, I definitely recommend it. It is very funny. It kind of like puts some of the players on the spot, and like in Overwatch tradition, a slightly dose of cringe, like always. But very nice. I would recommend everyone to watch it. Any favorites for you guys? The comments that they read out loud.
Every everything that Prophet did cracked me up. Prophet just cracks me up, man. He's so
Prophet
funny.
was hilarious. Yeah.
I do eat. I like the one about his eyebrows, where they were like, confirmed one eyebrow, have not seen the second. And he's like, "Ah, I have two eyebrows. If you didn't see it, it's not my fault.
I also did like the clip of them in the hot tub, and they're all
With
wearing
life
life
jackets.
jackets, and he says, "Well, it's just habit. You could drown in a hot tub." It's like what?
They are very earnest about their answers, but there's a certain charm to the way that they answer. So check it out if you haven't. It's a nice
It
little.
was amazing.
It was. We got a couple team news coming in as well. We have confirmation that the Overwatch DC team has hired a former NYXL main tank Janice and also the head coach Wizard Hyung, former also NYXL head coach. And we know that Wizard Hyung was actually a
Was he
very
their head
coveted
coach or was
coach.
he their. I don't think
I
he was
think
their head coach.
I think it was the one of the main coaches. Yeah, for the most part of the season. He is known for kind of carrying the team to victory throughout like most of the season. And apparently he was being offered hefty amounts of money to come coach for other teams, including the Shanghai Dragons that offer him about $150,000 to come coach Shanghai, which he turned down. And apparently he got higher bids, and DC taking the cake on this one. He has accepted the offer.
Or he
Yeah,
just
or
didn't want to go to Shanghai. He's like, okay, I'm good. But
I
I
don't want to
would say
build a
that, but
whole new
I think
team.
he did specifically say he was going for the team that did the highest bid. Um, so it could have been also that he didn't want to risk it with Shanghai Dragons, but I also think that he went where the money was calling to. Um, and why would you turn it down? Like if you're the coach that's getting
I
paid
guess
the
it is
best
an
in
all
the
new
league
team.
and you turn the worst team into, at least a decent team, that could say a lot about you. So I don't know. But he's ending up with DC. Do you guys want to add anything here?
I think Janice is gonna be good. So I think he just there just wasn't enough room for him.
Yeah, I think it's cool that Wizard Young is going to DC, and it's almost like he brought Janus with him. He's like, he knows Janus and how he plays, and so he brought him there with confidence that he could be a good player on this new team.
I think so. And I think it might have been part of the deal. I mean, I think it might have been like, I'll come coach you, but I want this player to come with me. And I think that he picked the main tank because he knows that you can build around that, right? You can get different assets, but you need a very solid main tank. If you don't have that, the team falls apart. So he made sure to cover his bases, and he said, if I'm starting a team from scratch, at least I'm taking a base that I can build out of. Very smart guy. As you can see from his videos, he's a genius, as he proclaims himself.
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah.
Me too. Great.
But no, he is a very smart guy and definitely has produced results. So I'm excited to see what DC does coming next season. We also have Toronto hiring a new coach, Bishop. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce his name. We're just gonna leave it at Bishop. They bring him in.
Yeah, that's all I recall him. He was with
Atlanta. Oh, sorry, go for it.
he was with Spitfire, right? And then they let go of him mid-season.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yes. Atlanta also hiring 5 coaches. I don't know if all of them are going to be main coaches or they're going to have different roles, but we know that we have a head coach, Sefi, assistant coach, Silence, and 3 additional coaches: former player development coach, Casaurus, former commentator and analyst, Danny, and translator, Dongmin.
Okay, does anybody think about the translator Danny when they say Danny? Because I was like, no way, you did not hire Danny.
maybe he's also really good at Overwatch analysis
No.
or something. So
No,
they're like, "Bring him in."
when he first came in, he was confused on some of the terms because
He's
I
like,
don't think
I
he
don't know how
played
to
Overwatch.
translate that. That doesn't go.
VPS. What is that?
It wasn't that bad.
Aggro? It's like aggro. What do you?
It was like more like it was different names of moves that he had problems with.
Yeah,
But
I
he
bet.
got really good fast. So oh
There
well.
are certain words in Overwatch that are very like common knowledge for us, but like to other people they sound kind of ridiculous. Like I remember the first time my girlfriend was watching some of the matches being casted, the casters were like super serious about like this play. They were like, "Oh my god, and he gets the 5 boops, winning the match." And she goes like, "Did he just say boops?"
No, he
Oh, that's
said
so funny.
boop.
And like they say it so seriously, and to us it's like, "Oh my god, they got booped." But like to people that don't watch the game,
Five
they're like, "Wait,
boops.
what? They got booped? What is that?" It
That
sounds
is
That's a good
insane.
point.
hilarious.
uh, Alrighty, and the last one, Mayhem reportedly adds 3 players. We got Zephyr, formerly coming from Soul Dynasty. We
That
also
one was
have
confirmed.
confirmed. Oh, perfect.
The other two aren't, but that one was.
We also have Apply and Hagopune, a DPS player and a support player, both coming from academy teams. One of them from the Spitfire academy team. Is the other one the same
No,
from?
they're both from the Mayhem Academy team, but Hagopun was on Spitfire season 1 and they let him go mid-season,
Oh, I
and Mayhem
remember now.
Academy signed him.
Okay, so very cool picking up players from their academy team. Meaning that it paid off for some of these players to kind of have been playing with them,
Right.
taking the step forward. Going to the next echelon. I think
There
that's a
was
pretty cool move.
there was a little bit of questioning because the current teams aren't allowed to sign players right now until I think October 7th. It's only the new expansion teams that can sign free agents and new players. But I guess before September 7th, when the window opened for the expansion teams, the current teams were allowed to pull people up from their academy teams if they wanted, and they were still allowed to trade.
Oh, cool.
So,
So an even bigger reason to kind of groom your own talent. It gives you an extra window of choosing before the actual window to select
right.
players.
Which wasn't the
Uh,
way it was originally. Like that must be a recent change because before they were saying that you could get anybody from any expansion team. Like the teams don't have first dibs, so that must be something they changed recently.
No, the expansion teams have first dibs. They've always had first dibs.
Oh, the expansion team. Sorry.
Right. So they have first dibs right now. They're the only ones that are allowed to sign players
Yep.
but existing teams were able to sign players from their academy teams
before
before the
September
signing.
7th. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. So it works out. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, last we got LA Valiant has acquired Tank Cookie from Soul Dynasty. Yeah, former player from Soul Dynasty. I remember Cookie being the that well-spoken guy, the one guy that knew how to speak English and was always kind of representing Soul Dynasty in those first few matches.
And he was kind of kooky.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. I'm glad to see that he's still in the league. Um, he didn't have the brightest performance, but when he came out, he did a few good things here and there. Interested to see what he can do in Valiant.
It's interesting to note that Soul is like really one of the only ones that has traded players since they could, right? Everybody else just released them. So I'm not sure why they decided to trade Zephyr and Cookie as opposed to just releasing them, or maybe they were going to keep them. I don't know.
You gotta catch them all.
Yeah, well, they had to sign him for season 2 before they could actually trade him.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe they were going to
They
keep him, and then they got an offer for
they want to catch all 150 players of the league. Just
him.
play him at least once. All right. We have a little XQC leak. I think that he leaked it on his stream. He was saying that Dante apparently is being traded to Outlaws for Smurf from the
Not
academy
a
team.
Smurf, but
So,
Smurf.
yeah, the guy called Smurf. It's not a Smurf. Yeah, it's
I mean, he's
it's
probably a Smurf too, but
somewhere,
Jonak's
somewhere.
second account is Jonak's second account. Never mind.
it's going to get
No, no,
real
no.
awkward when they play each other.
This one's not confirmed, but XQC was saying that it might happen. It might be Outlaws looking for that tracer they never had at season 1, right?
What do
Dante's
you
little.
mean they never had?
Are you gonna bring up
Just kidding.
Clockwork?
I think they're more
No,
looking for the
not
Sombra.
even.
If they're getting Dante, I think they're thinking Sombra's going to be in the meta, but who knows? Overwatch likes to change stuff. Blizzard
Yeah. Right now,
change.
Sombra is the new hotness. I'm sure we'll get a lot of Sombra for the World Cup, but yeah, come next season, you never know. There might be a new hero, a new patch. You never know what's gonna happen. All right. With that being said, let's jump straight into the games for this week. We had a very, very contested week, actually. I think that out of all the groups, this has been the closest results with a surprising China coming out on top. What a
Super
great
surprising.
performance from the Chinese team. Definitely looking a lot different from what we've seen before, especially Shanghai Dragons. But this time it
Now
looks
there's
like
really no excuse.
no, there's no excuse. But I think that China is taking it very seriously, and they want to show the world that Chinese talent is there and that they can definitely compete. And so far, it's looking like China could be a pretty good contender. Like other A teams, gotta be watching their back against China. They can't really relax because this team is coming full force.
Yeah, I felt bad for Denmark and even Sweden, but Denmark made a really good push. They beat Australia, but Australia goes through because you know Australia, Denmark, and Sweden all had the same match record, but the map record was what pushed Australia through.
It really came down to the wire for those three teams. Both Denmark and Sweden did a great effort. Sweden had a little bit of a rough start, but I think that Reinforce was not ready to give up. Him and Tavik were like just battling it out, duking it out till the last minute. And yeah, it came down to map differentials. I think that they just missed the mark by a little bit, especially Denmark, because Denmark was playing quite well. They had a
Yeah.
good show against Australia, which also had a really good performance. Costa looking really good leading that team. I could see him hyping up his teammates and just leading the charge, uh, really playing to their strengths. Let's talk about Australia for a second. Let's start with that team. Um, I thought that they were playing a really nice game, and they were playing a strategy that was not like super popular at the time. They're playing Anna and Mercy together a lot just so they could abuse their Farah. Farah having a huge appearance in that team, and I'm forgetting the name over here. Let me look it up real quick. It was CKM
Yeah,
on the
CKM
Farah.
looked good, man.
CKM and Custa together were doing work,
He was
man.
playing
That
some
farmer seemed
Genji
to,
too.
yeah, he was swapping to a few heroes, a little bit of Junkrat too. He performed quite well on the Junkrat as well in some of the maps. So he was definitely making a performance. I love Custa and their Anna, which I believe was. mm, I'm kind of like blanking out on what his name was. Was I think it was Trill? I can't remember. But their Anna was doing a
Trill.
Tongue?
fantastic performance.
Trill? No, Trill's a tank.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tongue? Was it Tongue?
No, it wasn't Tongue. I'm really forgetting who their Anna was. But having that said, they were doing a huge performance as well.
Yeah, every
Anything you
time
guys
I
want to
saw
add for Australia?
Trill, I was like, Thrill? What? Thrill's in the Overwatch League?
We play with a guy named Thrill, also a very good player.
I'm happy for Uber. I'm happy for Custa. I mean, Australia, I'm happy for the guys at Junkertown FM. I'm just happy for Australia to be in it and competing. And so I'm excited to see him play in the actual finals.
I think it
Yeah,
shows a lot of leadership skills from Custa. I think we always knew he had them, but taking all these players that haven't played Overwatch League and putting them together and really, you saw him leading them to victory, right? And pumping them up and knowing how to manage that team. And not to say that there isn't talent there, because there definitely is, but talent is not great without a good leader. And I think that's why Custa is such a great player.
absolutely. I mean, you could see him, going in Valkyrie mode and just pulling out the gun and being like, "I'm gonna get this done, guys. Like, we're gonna win this." He was really pouring his heart out into it, and it paid off.
See, he's the only player playing Mercy that doesn't have to anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Mercy is not like super meta right now, but he played it a lot.
He
And I
did.
think it was mainly to enable CKM on the Pharah, which was surprising, bringing out both main healers, both a Mercy and an Anna. But he was working quite well because Mercy can't really babysit Anna like a Brigitte does, for example. But that being said, if Anna died, he can just rest her back. So it kind of like worked
Which
out
is
for
in the
them
back
anyway.
line.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk a little bit about Sweden, because or not Sweden, sorry, Denmark. Let's tackle Denmark first, because Denmark also had a huge performance, with only Kellex being the known Overwatch League player, which also performed quite well. But we also had a good performance from Fisher, their flex player, Shax, their offense player was doing really good. They had a lot of good games. They had a good synergy. They're communicating well. They came up just barely short, like we said. Still beating Sweden and coming in third, I believe.
Yeah, third. And I think they opened a lot of eyes. I think we're going to see a handful of these guys get signed to teams in season two.
Yeah, some big plays coming out from these guys. What about Sweden, though? Because Sweden was one of the teams that had some of the most Overwatch League players, but it fell short.
And it had the most Overwatch League analysts too.
Yeah, I think that this team should have been prepared. This team has been playing in the top leagues. They've been playing against the best of the best.
I mean, they had the
Rainforest.
most former Overwatch League players.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
right about that.
I mean, they had a lot of like IDDQD. They didn't Nevix get dropped. Swoosh got dropped. Chips and Jin got dropped. Manatine got dropped. I think Snillo is still on a team. What about Zebasai?
Zebasai got dropped.
Zebusai
Tavik?
got dropped. Tavik's
Tavik
still
did
in.
not get dropped. He's still
Okay,
on
so we
Mayhem.
have two that did not get dropped from their team.
And ironically, the two that are still in the Overwatch League, Tavik and Reinforce as an analyst, were the ones that were doing the most work in the team. They were looking real good. Reinforce did a cool little blog expressing his feelings about being in the Overwatch World Cup. This has been one of his dreams. You could tell that the man really wanted to win this, and he played his heart out till the very end. He didn't stop going 100% till the last game. You gotta give it to him. He has what it takes to be a top player. I feel a little bad that he couldn't make it just because I was kind of rooting for him on a personal level. He's also a player that's on the older side of things, so he's getting to that threshold where if he wants to win a bit tournament this big, kind of time is running out a little bit on his end. But I was rooting for the guy. I was like, man, go prove it, man, that us oldies can still be super competitive. And I think he still showed that he's a great player. But yeah, the team itself in general just fell short.
Do you think that this Overwatch World Cup for him, if he was on the fence, right? If he was on the fence of coming back as a professional player or coming back as an analyst, do you think that this Overwatch World Cup pushed him to come back as a player or to come back as an analyst more?
I don't know. I think that if anything, it pushed him to come back as a player. I think that he's been trying to get back in the radar. And if any team
Right?
out there is looking for a main tank that's also very seasoned and experienced, I think he has a lot of the theory behind being a tank behind him that some other tanks don't have. And he
Like you can
couples
think
it
of
with like really
one,
good mechanics.
you can think of like one that he played really well with Tavik. They don't have any main tanks. That's what all the rumors are, that he's going to Mayhem. I was just wondering, based on his performance, because he could be going the other way. He could be saying like, "Okay, I couldn't lead this team to victory. What's the point of going back as a pro player?" Right?
No, I think if anything is gonna be that way, is like, man, we got so close. He got a taste of victory. He was close to making it to his dream. And I think if anything that's gonna motivate him more, who knows where he's gonna end up next year if he's gonna get picked up. But I think his heart lies with being a player. He has said it himself
Oh
that
yeah.
he ended up as an analyst because it was the only thing that he could get to keep at that level of play. But well, he has also mentioned he doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be a contenders player. He wants to be in the Overwatch League, and I think that if he doesn't make it to Overwatch League, he'll stay as an analyst. But if a team gives him an offer, I think he'll take him in a heartbeat. You want to
We
say
shall
anything over here,
see.
Bob?
Not about Sweden really. I mean it's telling that they had that many dropped Overwatch League players and they couldn't get it done in a group stage, that was arguably one of the less talented brackets.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Thailand and Spain.
Oh,
Both teams had a little bit of their moments of brilliance, but definitely fell short. I think Spain started really strong, and then it fell really hard afterwards. They were able to take a few maps from some of the teams. They had a few plays here and there, but poor Harry Hook couldn't really make it happen. Same with Thailand. Mickey was doing the best that he could. They had some good plays here and there. They won a few maps, but at the end of the day, they were outplayed very often by some of the other teams. What do you think, Bob?
yeah. Well, I thought it was good to get to see my boy Harry Hook, playing some more Lucio. That was cool. Got to play a little bit of Sombra too, which is pretty cool. But all in all, they just were not cutting it, and they they had Dak on the team. I mean, it was rough for them. So I kind of felt
I
bad
didn't watch
for
it. Did
Harry.
Dak die? Did he? Come on. A
Well,
lot?
he didn't play a whole ton. Harry was taking over most of the reps. But and then Thailand, Mickey was playing a lot of Brigitte. He was playing some diva too, but they just look bad. That's all I really got to say about that.
Yeah, out of all of the teams in this group, they were definitely left behind. Everyone else was very close, um, but they kind of like got left behind. They were definitely not World Cup material over here. But talking about World Cup material, let's talk about China a little bit because their performance was really stellar. It's not like they got through the group unscathed. Some of the teams were able to win a few maps against them, but overall, their record went with a clean 5-0. Um, all of the plays actually seemed very tight. Their players were playing incredibly well. Their Genji player, was it Crystal or Leave? I can't remember. But he was doing some amazing plays. Like he was playing like one of the top
I think it
DPSs
was
in the Overwatch
Crystal
League.
that you're thinking about.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Leave
but
is a flex, but I think it's Crystal you're talking about.
gotcha. I don't know. Some of the plays they were doing were really well executed. They were playing really well together. And I mean, those DPSs were looking spot on, man. Like, I was super impressed. A few times I kind of like jumped out of my seat with some of the plays that they did. I was like, whoa, okay, that was impressive. So they definitely blew me away a little bit. I was not expecting China to come up with this level of play, and I think at this point, some of the other teams are gonna have to start looking at China. Like I'm talking about the U.S., I'm talking about Canada, even South Korea might have to rewatch some of the VODs from this weekend and be like, okay, we're gonna have to pay attention to China because here they come.
Yeah, it's a super small roster too, with only one ex Overwatch League player, Sky, who always looked kind of lost when playing for the Shanghai Dragons throughout season one. Uh,
Everybody looked lost playing for the Shanghai Dragons.
he
Come
just
on.
he just always seemed to be out of position really bad on Zen.
He's like, guys, we practiced this, and I was supposed to be over here, and nobody's here.
I really enjoyed how committed they were to their pushes. Like when it was time to push, they were ready to go. They were very aggressive. They didn't look anything like Shanghai Dragons have looked in the past. You know, very passive, kind of just waiting for danger to come to them and getting, trampled over by the other team. This was a very proactive team. They were using Sombra to their advantage quite a bit. A lot of Sombra play coming from China, and they were using her really, really well to harass. Those EMPs were coming out at very clutch moments. I think that Sombra and Genji were like the two main DPS heroes that I saw them pull out that caused a lot of damage, but they were not afraid to swap over to different stuff. They definitely played Junkrat and Pharah a few times. But yeah, that Genji man with paired with Anna and then the nano blade that he was bringing out, woo!
I think
Nobody
Anna.
was surviving that.
I think the East is gonna look a lot better, just all together because of Anna coming back in. So
I think China
it's
had a lot to
interesting.
prove, right? They had a lot to prove with this game, well, with this World Cup, because Shanghai represented them in the Overwatch League and they didn't win a single game. So they went in knowing we've got to work our butts off. I do think you mentioned they have a small roster. I think part of that is probably because last year they had so much trouble getting their players into the US, right?
Oh yeah, visas.
And
You're right.
their
You're
World
right.
Cup team was like totally different, or they had players that hadn't played in the other games. And so I wonder if they brought players that they know secured their visas or something.
Visa at the
I mean,
door.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the reasons why their roster is so small.
Right.
China historically has had a lot of trouble getting visas for their esports players, because esports themselves are still not recognized as a super valid excuse to, get a visa.
Especially
Uh,
the people issuing the visas, probably.
Right, especially from countries which the visa demand is really high. You know what I mean? Like China probably has a
Right.
huge demand for US visas just because of the sheer amount of people that live over there. So securing one, especially through the government of China has always been a very lengthy process. So hopefully this time around they don't run into any problems. Like you said, they've had problems before where big part of the roster hasn't been able to make it. So seems like this time around the team is looking really solid. Hopefully, no bureaucratic, political things come in the way to not make it happen for them. But yeah, that might be a reason why the roster remains small. So it's
Yep,
manageable for them.
that's a good point.
Alrighty, anything you guys want to say about this groups going up against, or mainly China and Australia going up against some of the other teams that we know have qualified already?
Well, have we said the ones that have qualified? I mean, I guess people probably know.
Sure, no, let's mention them. So far, locked in, we have South Korea, Finland, USA, Canada, China, and Australia. We still have two more teams that we need to define. Those matches will be happening this weekend over in Paris. The teams that are still yet to decide their fate are France, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, and Poland.
And the
Did I
UK.
miss one? Oh, and the UK. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my brethren from the UK. Um, four more teams or six more teams. Sorry,
And it's
but yeah,
I
very
think
interesting. There's so few Overwatch League players on these teams. You would think France would do really good with Unko, Poco, AKM, and Soon. But then I don't think Germany, Netherlands, Poland, or Italy have any Overwatch League players. And the United Kingdom has Boombox.
winners.
it's so funny
It's going to be
that
interesting.
London Spitfire is the winner of Overwatch League, but they can't take any of the players from that roster because guess what? Turns out they're all Korean.
Sorry. Yeah.
uh,
I mean, about the teams that are already locked in, I think it's going to be closer than we initially thought, which is exciting. And these are the teams, the top 8 are the ones that go to BlizzCon, right?
Yeah.
yes, top eight.
So cool. Yay, we get to watch all of them play.
Yeah, this year actually the matches seem like they're gonna be very interesting. All these teams that are made it to the top eight so far are looking like very qualified. I think that Australia might have a little bit of trouble just from watching the games that we've seen so far. South Korea, USA, Canada, and China are looking very very strong A plus teams. Um, they're all in the running for number one
What
right
about
now.
my boy Linkser on Finland?
Finland is looking very good too. Um, I think that Finland and China might be around that same kind of like level there. And Australia is barely scraped by. I think that they barely made it out of the group from Denmark and Sweden. And I think that they might be the weakest link so far that has made it to the top eight. But that being said, Australia is looking very good as a team compared to other World Cups where the average play, I think, was a little bit lower. Australia is definitely, up in par with some of the lower teams in the Overwatch League. I think
Right. I also think South Korea isn't as far ahead as they've been in past years.
definitely not.
Right. So the gap has definitely closed a little bit, making I think all the matches are going to be a little bit more fun to watch. I won't have to sit there and watch Flower just snipe somebody through a windowsill.
That being said, South Korea is still looking like a really strong contender. Like there's still
Right.
a big chance that they might take that World Cup for a third time. I would
But it's
love to
not
see a different
like
team.
unbeatable this
No, it's
year.
not. It's not like other years where it's like, oh, South Korea is gonna take it. If the U.S. doesn't win, then South Korea is gonna take it. That
Right.
that was pretty much it.
I'm just happy that the U.S. doesn't have to take on South Korea in an early match.
Have they shown the schedule yet?
Well, it's just they're both top seeds, so they
Oh,
for
that's right.
sure
The
won't be
top
going
seeds
up
of the
against
group, yeah.
first.
So this time it's a good news for the U.S. But that being said, the competition, like you said, is a lot fiercer. Uh, I think Canada's coming for revenge. They want to face the USA again, and claim back the title. And then we also have China, who is a top contender, and it's looking that like they have good strategies, they have good synergy, their players are good. It's gonna be a matter of can the USA shut them down? Can they find um, that creative strategy around them, which I think that the U.S. has potential. They're one of my favorite teams to win it this time, not just because I'm rooting for them as a fan, but I think that their roster right now is playing really really well. They have very selfless players that are willing to play for the team and support each other, make each other shine. They're not trying to steal the spotlight. So I don't know. As a team in general, I really like how the U.S. is looking.
Me too.
All right, guys. I think that'll do it for the recap this week. Anything, Baba or Mel? You guys want to add anything before we close out the discussion?
I did want to say our friend of the show, Jay Lee, just in chat reminded me. Our friend of the show, Harsha, has left the shock and is looking for new employment. Anybody that's involved in the league would be lucky to have him. So I retweeted that out on my personal account, but you can check Harsha's account. And anybody listening that might have some pull, give him a call.
Yeah, Harsha is a great guy, very well spoken, very friendly, and very knowledgeable about the game. I think that any team would be lucky to have him.
Maybe
Uh,
he's the one that told XQC the information, and they're like, "Whoa, dude."
we gotta get him out of here. He's the mole. He's the leak.
He's the mole. I'm just kidding. I love Harsha, guys. I'm not saying that. Not true.
Yeah, we're just joking over here. All right. As far as the show goes, please follow us on Twitter at Owl Recap. Also, follow us on Twitch if you guys want to catch us live every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch TV/Owl Recap. You can also join our community over on discord.me/OmnicLab. You can find Mel, you can find Bob, you can find me, you can message us directly, you can find other listeners of the show, and also you can find cool things like game nights at the end of the month. Whole lot of fun, a great community. If you guys want to talk about Overwatch or anything else related to Overwatch, or I don't know, anything about your lives with cool people, you can find it there. You can also email the show over at contact@owlrecap.com with any feedback or any business inquiries. That's the best place. And also, thank you to Austin Lopez for leaving us a Facebook comment. Sorry, Austin, we didn't get back to you. Honestly, we don't check our Facebook page too often. We made it a while ago just because it's good to have social media everywhere, but we'll promise we'll be better about keeping up with that. He said, "Love your podcast, guys. I am so bummed I miss you in New York City." Um, we're bummed that you missed us too, man. We had a really nice get together. Everybody came out. We had a few drinks with all the listeners. It was really, really fun. But maybe next time, we'll definitely be there for more games, definitely for more finals. So maybe we can make it happen in the future, my dude.
If it makes you feel any better, I missed everybody too. So,
Mel
Yeah, you
missed it
did.
too, so you're not the only one.
we can
All
wallow
right.
in sorrow together.
If people want to find you guys, where can they do it?
You can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Everything I do is there.
And Mel?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Mel Overwatch.
And you can find me on Twitter as well at I Play Games. You spell that IPLAI Games. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode, and we'll catch you next time for more reviews on the World Cup. Later.
Bye.
See you guys. All right. We are still live. Should we raid somebody?
Raid him. The
Should we
Raiders
raid?
of the Storm.
Uh, da, 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 da. I don't know. Here, we'll raid now. She's not playing Overwatch.
You should raid Ninja. We'll give him all this 10 followers.
Overwatch League Network's usually on right now. Are they not on?
They aren't.
Is High Noon still chatting away?
I don't think so.
Jaylee.
Not that
Jaylee wants to
I
play
see
some
him.
Overwatch. I'd be down.
Yeah. I think I have to eat something first, though.
Yeah, I gotta eat too, but I am down after that.
All right. I'm raid, guys. Thank you guys for coming. Actually, what can I do this from here? I bet I can. She's playing Overwatch, so tell her we said hi. This is the awkward time.
I know, right? It's like I've
I don't
already
know what to
said
do.
bye.
I don't know what to do.
It's like when you give somebody a hug and then you don't leave. And you're like, it's awkward.
Yeah,
Or when you
it's
get in
awkward.
the elevator and there's somebody there.
Blah.